What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and I'm joined today by Michael Gailey and Aaron Polides, and we're back for another weekly bodybuilding breakdown. It's actually the relaunch of a weekly bodybuilding breakdown, and pleased to have Aaron Polides on here. And for those who don't know who Aaron Polides is, he's an IFBB Pro bodybuilder, 212, placed top 10, placed actually 9th in the 2019 Mr. Olympia. He won the New Zealand Pro Show that same year, placed second at the Indy Pro. I thought he should have won. Mate, how are you doing?
Me or Gally? Me?
You.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm pretty good, mate. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, just obviously busy with the family stuff. Busy with the businesses, and just getting back in the swing of training after a sort of a long rest with injury, and just getting busy with work and stuff. So just starting to get my normal feel back. So
yeah, absolutely. I'll ask you a few more questions, but Mick, how are you doing this week?
I'm good. So it's been a couple of months since we've recorded. So I'm back in Australia. I'm back on the Goldie where Aaron lives as well, but we've only seen each other a couple of times. So this will be great to do the show with us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'm considering moving up there as well, hopefully end of the year. Well, more than considering, planning, but hopefully it all comes through because, man, we could even do this show in person at some point.
Right, I'm just going to turn this light off behind me because it's doing my head in.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But how good would that be doing it in person?
Yeah, set up.
Sorry?
Studio setup with the three of us in there.
Oh, it'd be great, man. That's literally what I think about. I'm like, I'd love to get a full like studio set up, like backdrops and stuff, like a corner table, like microphone set up. That's like the goal long term. But I'll shortly pull up some photos of Aaron so people can see actually what you look like, Aaron. But what have you been doing, obviously, during all the lockdown, the COVID stuff, because you haven't been able to compete?
Oh, it feels like everything was ticking along just nicely, you know. When COVID happened, that's obviously derailed me. But I was doing a prep. It feels like recently, but it's actually a while ago now. I was doing a prep for the New York and the Indy. So I was going back for a vengeance at the Indy, you know. I lost by a point to Noel Adame. I was going back to try and get that win, and it was the same lineup, going to do it again, and then conveniently they were having a New York Pro a week later. So I was so pumped for that, because I've always wanted to do New York. And I think I got to 8 weeks out, and then obviously COVID, that's when it fully hit. And New York was like the worst place in the entire world. Like, I don't believe the videos, but they had people like dead bodies like laying on the streets and shit. So then they just canceled my flights, and that was all derailed. And I was prepping with Sergio. So that was a fun time because Sergio come to Australia, and obviously that Arnold's was cancelled, so he had nowhere to go, and he sort of fled Melbourne, come up here because it was better on the Gold Coast for COVID. And then we were training in my garage, and I just had like a Rebel Sport bench press, a bench, and then like a couple of dumbbells. Then I just went all out and put like a whole gym in my garage. And then me and Sergio were training, and I was prepping for the New York, you know, and Indy. And it was my shoulder with my injury was hurting a little bit, but I was just putting up with it. And got to 8-9 weeks out. Definitely the best that I ever looked. Like, it was the best look I ever had. Easiest prep, except for the shoulder that was hurting. It was the easiest prep like I'd ever been through. Like, I had striated glutes already at 9 weeks out. It was easy. I wasn't even trying. There was no cardio. Like, everything was. And then COVID destroyed it all. And then I sort of done a bit of a detox after surgery and went back overseas. And then the shoulder just got worse and worse and worse, to the point where I couldn't even, I could barely sleep. It was killing me, and I couldn't even do a push-up on the ground. So then I had to get that sorted, and I've been through like 12 months of sort of rehab to get that back to just trainable, because I couldn't even train at any push movements. I did no push movements for months.
Yeah.
So then it all went down the gurgler after that, you know. And then I just had a long. Then I thought, while I'm injured, I'm going to switch to business focus. So I switched to business focus and was just growing my businesses and made new businesses. And I won't get into that, but like, I was just obsessed with that. So I became obsessed with that until I could fix his shoulder. And the shoulders, it's already been like 18 months, and the shoulder's only just starting to turn around now. So it was a bit of a crippling injury, to be honest.
Yeah,
I was watching your progress when I was living overseas, and I agree. I think you coming in, that was some of the best condition I'd seen you that far out from the show. But how's the home gym you had? I know obviously Australia was one of the worst as far as lockdowns went. So you just went about building your own home gym.
Yeah, so I got a bit obsessed with it, to be honest. It was actually really addictive, like, because we went a bit nutty during COVID, and like I don't know if everyone remembers, there was like a scramble for gym equipment. So me and Adam, we actually found this guy that was selling an entire gym, and he was getting like tire kickers trying to buy one machine at a time. I rang the guy. I said, if we buy the whole gym, can we get a certain price? And we went back and forth. And then we got like together a bunch of money, and then we bought the entire gym off him. I think I got like about 10 pieces of equipment. Adam got like 25 pieces of equipment, and we got like 5 trucks delivered to the guy. Went to the guy's house and just had them delivered to my garage, and I just kitted the whole gym out, you know. Like you see on the video there, I got Nautilus, like Cybex Hack, Integrity, got all the maddest old school shit. It was actually like COVID was bad for a lot of Australia, but I had some fun times during that break because I was just like that video there. I was just eat, sleeping, and training every day, and I was doing sometimes 2 sessions a day. So it was actually good for my prep because my business is I can obviously run off my phone and my laptop. It was actually a good time in prep. If I made it to the whole way like that, I would have had my best look ever. So
when was this taken? Just go back one. Xavier. Was this picture taken? Was that during the prep?
That's during that's Olympia prep. Yeah.
Oh, the Olympia prep. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Aaron,
So I was a fair bit bigger. There's a photo if you go down. There's me doing a side hamstring. That was like the last sort of shot that I remember. You go down a little bit in the gym.
Man, I love this shot. This shot is sick.
Yeah, that was 3 weeks out of the Olympia.
Yeah, that is a cool shot, man. Like just super.
That was just before I left. Yeah, that's the cool shot of me and Sergio. Like that. That's when we just before I started fitting the gym out. That's how I sort of started. Just a few random scattered things.
Yeah,
and then I went all out.
Still got all that same equipment?
No, I'm selling it now because I never use it. Like. And people someone tried to rob me the other week. If you see on my social media, they keep trying to steal my car at the front, my 63. So I need to get it back in the garage. I'm getting paranoid that it's out the front.
Is that common up there, man? Like where you live? Because like
you see that photo of me and Levi next to the pool. You just went past it, I think.
Which one's that?
That was sort of about 9 weeks out. I think you just went past it again.
I do.
Keep going.
Is he in the playpen?
It keeps resetting. No, the one of me, I'm holding his hand in front of the pool.
This one.
Yeah. Like I was at my biggest point, and like I think it was going to be my best look at that prep I had to pull out ever. You know, like I never had such an easy prep. Like with my Olympia prep, I had no cheat meals for 20 weeks. I said to Patrick this prep, I said, can we try something different? He's like, what are you saying? I said, I truly believe that I look better with weekly refeeds. I prove that I'm not a pussy. I truly believe I have a better look. I lose fat easily anyway, with a weekly cheat meal. And he's like, Patrick's like with cheat meals. He's like, you know how I feel on cheat meals, but it's your prep. So if you want to call it, we're going to do that. So every Sunday, that prep that I pulled out of, we'll go for dinner or lunch every week. And it felt like the easiest prep of my life after doing Olympia, 20 weeks, no cheats. It was like a holiday camp to me. Do you know what I mean? So, but I feel like it resonated with my physique because my stress levels were really low. I wasn't starving. I just felt like it was going to be my best look. So it's disappointing that never went ahead, and to watch the Olympia that year with guys that I beat, get top 5 and 6, it was a bit frustrating.
As you know, I was pretty close up that front of Olympia, and I honestly thought you, with it, knowing how you look, you would have been in that top 5 or 6. So,
yeah, it was hard. It was so frustrating to see that,
I love that photo, man. How many weeks out is this?
That's 29 years out.
Man, you are unbelievably fat as a baby. Like that is insane. Like, I can't get over it. Like I was scrolling through your photos, man, trying to find a photo to put up for this episode, and I saw that, and I just couldn't stop laughing. Like I just kept looking at it and just being like, it's actually unbelievable.
Why isn't Levi that fat? He's skinny.
Yeah, he's lean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my son, he sort of like, as soon as like Tara stopped breastfeeding and he had like a bit of formula, he blew out, man. Like he got real fat, like real round head, and then he just shot up and leaned out.
They're cuter when they're fat.
Yeah, I feel like my son though, like he got real fat for a little bit, and he looks a little bit like you, but not quite to that level. It's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
But mate, so what's the plans now? Because obviously, like there's still, a bit of sort of, we don't know exactly when we're going to be able to travel. It seems like next year is probably a possibility, but you might need like the vaccine or whatever. So how do you feel about either getting the vaccine, also competing in 2022, and is it going to happen?
Oh, the vaccine's a bit of a sore subject with me because I think I'm not going to go into it. I think it's a bit of bullshit, like the whole saga. But I would take it if it meant that I had to compete, because I'm not going to throw my bodybuilding career over just getting a jab of the vaccine,
Yeah.
But I'm not at the same thing. I'm not going to be one of the first to take it. I'll be one of the last, If I was ready to go now, I would maybe push it forward, but like I'm still repairing the shoulder. Like as I said, I've only just been getting back into full time the last 3 weeks. This is week 3 now, so I need a full year. I've been watching everyone overseas, like all the competition since I stepped off stage. They've been night and day living bodybuilding the entire time with no breaks. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not delusional of the fact that they definitely would have gotten better. And I was going hard till COVID happened, but I've had a pretty shitty 10 months, to be honest, So I need to get my shit back together first for at least, I think, 12 months. And I have to get a nanny or something sorted with the kids, because it's just impossible with like the reason I wasn't training also for the last few months, because I've got to do the school drop off now with Levi on my own. And Jade looks after the babies, and then I've got 3 businesses as well, bro. And I wasn't getting to the gym at all. So that's why now I'm training at 6 a.m. It's not when I don't want to train at 6 a.m, but it's the only time that I can train and then be back in time for Levi's school pickup to get it done. Otherwise, I couldn't get it done in the afternoon because I'm too busy. And then by the time 2 o'clock comes along, I got to go pick up Levi, and then Jade doesn't really want me to go. Once I pick him up and bring him home, she doesn't want me to go because she needs help with 3 on her own to get him fed and dinner and stuff. So I just wasn't training, bro. Like it was impossible. So
yeah, I mean,
people laugh when I said a nanny, but I'm telling you 100%, I will have a nanny when I do this prep. 100, I want one that lives with us, but we don't have the space really as much in this house. I'm hoping to get a bigger house in the next 12 months, and then I'll have a full-time nanny, and then I'll do it then.
Yeah, and it makes sense, man, because like I know myself, like obviously we've got 2 young kids, and then we've got some like trying circumstances as well at the moment, and it's like, man, it's hard. Like, and like you said, around like dinner time, it's like it's craziness, man. Like because they're getting like grumpy because they want food, and then they get tired, and it's like, oh man.
Well, with Levi, bro, dinner time, like I would kiss him goodnight, and he'd be eating dinner. Then I'd just go to the gym. I'm like, see ya. And then Jade would just feed him, easy as just feed him, and then read him a book and put him to bed. That was it. Was one child was so easy, man. Like that was it. Now I've got to do all that, and then she's got screaming babies for like 2 hours. They cry a lot at night, so I've got to be here, and I have to get him. I have to make him dinner sometimes, and like read him his book, have a shower, brush his teeth. So I can't go to the gym.
Yeah, it takes time.
That stuff takes time. Unless I do it all, then go to the gym at like 8 o'clock at night, but. I could probably do that, but then I'm going super, super late. I can't have any stims. Like it's just very frustrating. But
yeah, I tried to start doing that, man. Like especially while COVID was happening, like literally like putting them to bed, like doing all that stuff. And then by the time you finish, man, it's like after 8 o'clock, and you're wrecked from like working all day, taking care of the kids, and then you're just like motivation is at an all-time low. Like in the past, if I didn't have those responsibilities, I could train at 8 o'clock, no problems. But now it's like. No, like Dave Plumbo does it, but he doesn't train that hard anymore. But he goes and trains like 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night once his kids are asleep. Then he goes and does work, and I'm just like, poor. That's
I don't know.
If you're a pro athlete,
I'd probably prefer to go. To be honest, I'm starting to get a little bit more used to the mornings now, so I'll probably prefer to do the mornings, because at least when you do the morning, it's done. You get a really good feeling once it's done, because you already got training done and dusted. I drop him off at school and it's 9 o'clock and I've already done school drop off, training is done. And at least I feel like really refreshed. Where if I train late at night, it's the eating after it's the harder part, because if you have a really mad session, sessions where you just want to keep training.
Yeah.
Then you're walking the door at like midnight. You got to eat another massive meal after. You'll be up to 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Training that early, do you eat beforehand as well?
The first week I didn't, and because my diet hasn't been great, and that was the worst. But now I do. I have some oats and some like oat cinnamon and a bit of honey on it. I don't have really any protein and a coffee, and that seems to go all right. And when I come back after, I have my protein and carbs then. So I have a little bit.
Yeah, I think the best thing about training that early in the morning, when I used to, at least you've got the whole day then to recover a lot better than what you normally do.
And I got the whole day of eating too. Like I can feel like I can squeeze more meals in when I train earlier because I feel like I have more time, you know. So it's not ideal, but it'll get by for the next 12 months. Like when I have this nanny, I will be able to train whenever I want. When the nanny's here full time, I can do my 6:00 p.m. sessions or whatever, because the nanny will be getting the kids ready for bed and all that. So that'll be no problems. This will suffice for the next year anyway, you know.
Just
That'd be
changing.
amazing having a nanny.
Yeah, and I imagine it, and the cooking one. Like,
Oh yeah, that's what makes it, man.
bro, they're fairly well priced. If you get one that lives with you, because you're supplying somewhere to live, it's actually fairly well priced. I think it's like, I've been told like $500-600 a week. I think that's
Wow,
pretty
good.
well. I reckon that's pretty good considering like how much time you're going to save, and you know.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculously good. But man, let's get into a few questions from the listeners. I posted this up on the YouTube community page as well. And this is from listener. Wait, sorry, just reloaded. Their name's Heart004. Asked to describe his style of training and why he trains the way he trains. So, what's your style of training and why, basically?
Well, my style of training's changed drastically because of this injury. So you would have seen on my Instagram that I've been training with a new coach, Nick McCallum.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And you know, the training I like to train varies with the body part. But for when I was younger, coming into turning pro, I like to go heavy and hard. Like I used to sit like every other probably bodybuilder grew up doing. I used to watch Dorian videos and Ronnie videos, then come in the gym and squat and deadlift like as much as I could. But all that did was just break me really badly and slowly make just get more and more injuries. So then I preferred more volume type training, but then just my whole training structure over the years was probably set up like during Olympia. I was trying to bring my chest up so much that I was pushing 3 times a week, like doing so much chest from a certain advice from a certain other coach that I had. And that's what caused me the shoulder issue. So I was just pressing way too much. I was doing chest 2 or 3 times, three times in a week, you know, and then doing crazy presses on the chest and shoulders. And over time that the subacromial gap in my shoulder, it compressed. And it's like one of the worst bodybuilding injuries you can get, because every time you press, it's like your shoulder just kills because there's no subacromial gap. And it's supposed to have a little gap there. It's like bone on bone. And once it's like that, it's from too much pressing over time, and you get internal rotation. So the shoulders come forward, you know, and then the joint closes, and then every pressing movement is just agonizing. And
did you get a lot weaker? Because I think I had a similar thing, and I actually was told by my physio that part of it could have been from holding both my kids, and you get that obviously internal rotation from holding them all the time. And then I had to do a lot of sort of rehab exercise to correct it, because I lost all strength, man, during my last prep. I was doing I corrected during the prep, and then my strength started to go back up, but it went like I was pressing I'm reasonably weak anyway, but doing like inclines and repping to say 10 on 40 kilos. And then the strength just went down every week, like unbelievably low. I got down to like 25 kilos and was struggling to do like 8. Like it was unbelievable how weak I was.
Right when Sergio was here and I was prepping for that show, I was masking it. So I was literally eating painkillers to get through this prep. I would not want to pull out of that prep unless you had to put a bullet in my head. Like I would have put up any pain. I was deep heating it and then just eating like painkillers to train. And it was agonizing. When it wear off, it was agonizing, man. I would sit there with ice like every night in actual hell. It was the worst I can, you know. And then after he left and I detoxed my body and everything, and I come off subs and everything, I couldn't even do a push-up 3 months later. I couldn't even push my body off the ground. So I couldn't even bench press 20 kilos. That's how bad it got at its worst.
That's crazy.
So the more to the point, to the answer that guy's question, to undo this issue, they said they wanted to operate. That's obvious. But the what Nick said, he reckons the way I trained into the problem, he reckons I can train my way out of the problem. So we have to do all these exercises to increase external rotation. So pulling the shoulder back. So I had to get treatments 3 or 4 times a week for 6 months. I still get them twice a week now, where he releases tension in the pec, the front delt, and the lat, and then it sort of pulls the shoulder. The shoulder sort of slowly comes back and back and back. Yeah. And then we do so much back now. We do 3 back they're not full back days, but 3 days a week, I have back movements in underhand rows, behind the head lat pull downs, and all these movements change the relationship of the shoulder joint to go from here to rotate back to where it's supposed to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So your back gets crazy sore because it's just so much back. But so we train it so posterior loaded that over time my shoulder joint, my shoulders come back, and all of a sudden he said it would take 12 months, about 10 to 12 months, as they come back and back and back and back, all of a sudden the joint did this, and it sort of went like that a little bit, and the gap opened up a bit again.
Oh, awesome.
And then the pain started slowly going away. Do you know what I mean? So it's pretty crazy to think that way. This Nick's on another level that I've never experienced before in regards of training structure and knowledge. So that's the way we've been structuring now. So we do sort of like a push-pull legs type setup, but it's just heavily posterior loaded for the week. Like I only do three chest movements a week at the moment, and which sucks because I have a weak chest, but it's all I can get away with. That's why I was trying to say that training's not 100%.
Yeah.
But it's either that or I get surgery, and I'm just a little bit afraid of the surgery because the only way they can fix it is they grind the bone away on both sides to recreate more of a gap. You know what I mean? So they'll literally get a grinder and buff away the bone to recreate, and it just freaks me out, you know? So yeah.
I've had the same sort of thoughts lately. Like I don't even know if I've told you, man, but I've been pretty much laid up, haven't trained for about 4 weeks because I went to the gym, and then basically I had a sore back, and like I had a sore back for a few days. Felt like it went sort of out, I got an inversion table, so I hung upside down, sort of got it back in, felt all right, but it just felt sort of.
I was thinking I get one of those.
Yeah, they're good, man. They're good. But I was like, my back was out, and I was just trying to crack it back in every time, and then it kept going out, kept like getting it back in. It happened about 3 times. And I went to the gym, and like Tara was driving up, and she's like, "Well, I'll go to the shops. I'll just drop you at the gym, and the kids at the creche at the gym, and then you can just train." I was like, "Yeah, sweet." And I was in the car thinking, geez, my back's hurting. I'm like moving around. I'm going, oh shit. Then I get into the gym, and I think I go to the toilet, then go to sit up, and I'm like, oh shit. And I stand up, and I just was locked, man. I just couldn't move. And I was just like, fuck. And I had like, when you like get to the gym, you sort of got like music like blasting in your ears, sort of like motivational sort of stuff. So I had that, and I'm like, I was just using that motivation to walk out of the toilets, man, because I was in agony. Like couldn't, like I was so shocked that I could walk. But then I sat on a machine, and then I was just locked up, could not walk. And I waited about 45 minutes there, and I was just in agony, man. And then I had to get 3 guys to like carry me out of a gym. Just like, there's no chance I could walk. Like it was crazy. But basically I've got 2 bulging discs. They said they were very bad. And then I've got disc fragments that have come off, and then erosion between 2 of the other discs or something. So I'm like, they said that my doctor said, I'm like, he's like, look, this isn't good, like blah, blah, blah. And then I said, okay, well, like how bad? I'm like, surgery bad? And he's like, just nodded at me. I was just like, yeah. And he's like, look, he said, I'm not an expert, but he's like, I'd be shocked if they don't do surgery on your back. I'm like, so trying to get some advice on it now, because I really don't want back surgery at like 31 years old. But
see, I was like same as you. Like I was bringing everyone in the country that of any knowledge, like Andrew Locke, Andrew Locke, and and I think it's Sebastian, which is Australian strength coach.
Yep.
And Andrew Locke was the first one. Bro, so many people misdiagnose my problem, man. I spent 12 months of people misdiagnosing it. Oh, it's just a normal shoulder injury. You'll be right. And then Andrew Locke said to me one day, he looked at it, and then he goes, I hope it's not osteolysis. And I said, what's that? And he said, it's one of the worst powerlifting injuries you get from powerlifters that press all the time. And that's what I've got. He goes, it's when the subacromial gap closes, and when it's bone on bone, the bones start to get all soft and squishy, and the bone like starts to the bone goes all soft, and then you get osteolysis, and that's when it inflames, and that's when the pain when mine was at its worst. Like I told you, when I couldn't do a push up, that's when the bone on bone became osteolysis. So my joint was fully inflamed, and the bones are just doing this, and they go all soft and squishy. And then, because he said to me, Andrew Locke's like, well, it's one of the worst powerlifting injuries you can get. And I was like, and then months later, I texted him. I said, finally I went to the Titans, the Titans NRL team, went to their doctor, and he straight away, I walked in there, and he goes, I know exactly what you've got. And he explained to me, and I was like, that sounds right. He goes, rugby league players get it, and powerlifters get it. He's like, it's osteolysis when your AC joint compresses. And I was like, fuck. And then he got it right. So I was pissed off because all I had in my head was Andrew Locke's voice saying it's the worst injury.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. So I had ultrasound guided PRP for like 5 months, where they do it for ultrasound straight into the middle of the joint. You know,
Yeah.
that hurts a bit too. But that helped a little bit. But like he said, the doctor said to me, he's like, mate, you're bone on bone. He goes, I can just only reduce the inflammation, but we have to do something about the bone on bone. So I did that, and then I relied on Nick to change my posture to create the gap again. That's the plan of attack that we did. You know what I mean? So
it's good to hear it's working, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've got a feeling eventually it's going to have to get an operation. I don't know. Like, I'll just see, but hopefully not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hopefully not. Another listener question is from Hector O on YouTube. He says, what do the judges look for in the 212 division? I think it's sort of the same as the Open, isn't it, really? Just capped.
Yeah, it's the same as the Open, bro. Like, I think in America, it's a lot different to Australia also, I think. And I swear it's different show to show. You know what I mean? Like, somewhere like a New York Pro and Olympia, I've realized they tend to like fullness more in America. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm always trying to be the most shredded guy in the world, but I've had different looks before and spoke to different judges, and they've told me what their favorite look was. And every time that I've been super full, even to the point where I've been doing guest poses where I've spilled, the judges have liked the overly full look. So I feel like in regards of condition aspect, they like super full and just big, I guess, you know, in America.
Yeah. As long as the midsection's, I suppose, tight enough and there's not like such a bloat that it's like, you know, it's bad.
Yeah, and I guess the midsection is pretty big in our era. In our era, they're trying to phase out the whole bubble gut thing. But in saying that, I still believe. I'm telling you, I've seen some guys with some mad perfect midsections, and there's a bigger dude there with a bubble gut, and they choose that.
Yeah, it sucks. I hate that.
I've seen it multiple times that they still, if you're getting severely outsized, you're going to lose.
Yeah, for sure. Next question from Aussie Beef, which is Lee, who we know. I'm sure you'll ask, but what's his next comp?
My first dream, my goal that I want to tick off I have to get a vengeance at the Indy Pro. I want to go back there and win that. The one I was just doing lastly, do you know what I mean? Like, with losing by a point, just I have unfinished business with that one. Do you know what I mean? And I'd love to win a New York Pro. That would be like, from just a personal standpoint, everyone respects a New York win. And then from an Australian standpoint, like, no Australian, I think the highest place ever Australian New York Pro is sixth place. That was Luke Wood, I'm pretty sure.
That was probably his best look as well, I think, too.
So I think in New York would be like a massive, like, I feel like once you win in New York, from being an Aussie, like, it's like, you could retire, and you made an Olympia. You could retire after that. I think, like, not that I'm saying I want to retire, but it's just such a good scalp, you know.
Absolutely.
That would be my goals. But it's such a multifactorial question, because if I can't compete, I'll definitely just do an NZ Pro with Mo Masawi again, because I'll just do anything that I could do. You know what I mean? It's only across the water,
and then at least that way you can
qualify,
and hopefully by the end of that year, then you can go over.
Yeah, I guess.
With that all said, what do you think? And I know this probably doesn't interest you, but let's talk about it. The people trying to get a pro show happening in Australia. I mean, Australia is the most affected country in the world as far as pros that can't compete. But I mean, I know the sanction fee would be right up there, but what's your thoughts on it?
I think it'd be good for the fans. Like, obviously, I can see how it would be appealing. I'd be lying if I said it was overly appealing to me. It just, I don't know, like, it feels like yesterday even though it's been 2 years now, I can't believe it's been 2 years since I was in the Olympia. But it feels like yesterday I just left the Olympia, you know, top 10, my first Olympia, like, and I just have unfinished business in America. Like, I'm just have an obsession in my head where I want to go back over there as soon as I can. And, like, I speak to Flex a lot. He's invited me to do the train in his gym, and I can prep in his gym. I just want to get over there and do an American show. So an Australian show against Aussies that, whether they're in my division or not, doesn't really overly excite me. It doesn't really, you know, that's just from me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's good.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Sure. Okay. Next question is ask him his opinion on this is from Ozchuck on YouTube. Ask him his opinion on the level of amateur Aussie or New Zealand comps to overseas ones, please. Guys look good in person compared to US photos, but what's it like in person? So I assume he means like the New Zealand pro versus like the Indie pro.
Oh, did he mean, so you're not talking about amateurs, talking about pros?
Oh no, he did say amateur. Apologies. Yeah, amateur.
So we're comparing amateur bodybuilders in Australia to overseas.
Yep.
I'll probably have a surprising answer for that. It's very in America, like if you go to an Arnold Ohio, it's way higher. Obviously, the Arnold amateur over there is another level. Like Australians go over there, let's be honest, they get their ass whooped for the majority of it. But the rest of America, Australia is the rest of America, all the other states, their shows are not very, they're not as stacked as what you think.
Yeah,
like
a lot of shows are actually smaller than people
smaller
think.
shows are actually pretty average, to be honest. So Australia still stacks up pretty well. Like we're sort of in the middle ground where some of our shows are pretty damn good. Where you go to like a Pittsburgh where they have an amateur contest there, or some random little shows around in America in different states, they're pretty average, some of the shows there. Do you know what I mean? It's only the NPC Nationals that's good, and the Columbus, Ohio. The rest of them aren't as good as what you think it are. Everyone thinks America's like on this whole other level. They are better for the most part, but it's only those two shows where they're really good. The rest of them, Aussie is going to stack up pretty well.
Yeah. I've been to a lot of the local shows there just to watch, and you're right. Like most of them are just held in school auditoriums. There's nothing fancy. There's just chairs just sitting on the, sitting there. There's nothing like we have with the Art Centre or the Gold Coast casino or things like that. There's nothing like that for the amateur show.
And you'll see overall winners that are like just sort of standard condition. Like, America's it's very extreme. It's like very average. And then you go to an NPC and there's a freak that comes out that looks like Nick Walker, who's a monster, who looks like a pro for 5 years, like a pro that's been pro forever. So it's very polar opposite in America. It's either crazy weak or just crazy good, like a little mini pro show. So Australia's in the middle ground, I guess.
And the thing about America as well is there's like 50 something states. We've got 5 state shows here. So obviously like it's more condensed here in terms of the quality. And, obviously having 50 states, even if you have weaker shows, you take the best couple out of each show, you have a few standouts and then put them all together like at the Nationals, like you said, then it looks really strong. Like they're really strong. But when you look at all the small shows combined compared to our small shows, we match up generally pretty good.
Yeah, so pound for pound, in saying that, bro, pound for pound, Australia probably stacks up pretty well. It's just like you said, America has more bodies. They have more people in the country, so they've got a bigger sample size. So of course they're going to have a more extreme overall at the nationals and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into Mick. Do you have any last questions for Aaron before we get into some of the bodybuilding topics?
No, I that was the listener questions, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the listener questions there. Unfortunately, we didn't get more. I thought we'd get more, but that's what we got. But let's get into it and let's discuss, guys, Phil Heath a little bit because he's been putting up these Instagram lives. We just saw it the other day. I'll share my screen shortly as well because I put a bit of a footage in one of my videos. Now, I'll start with you, Mick. What do you think about Phil Heath in terms of, is there any chance of a comeback, do you think, in 2021 or in the future? Or do you think Phil's actually done? Because he's sitting on 7, obviously, Mr. Olympias. He's got to obviously believe he can win another one, I believe, if he's going to come back to the Mr. Olympia at least. What do you think? Is Phil done, or do you think he's actually going to make a comeback again?
I'll tell you what, his abs look better a couple of days ago than they did on the Olympia stage. I'll give you
definitely
that. They wider and his stomach looks smaller. I don't think he's going to compete again. I really don't. I think he's downsized a bit. He's just doing what most guys do when they're kind of going in retirement. If you look at the Olympia with Ramy obviously taking the year off, but you've also got guys like Nick Walker and Ian Valliere, who I think Ian Valliere is going to be a top 3, 4, 5 contender this year. So I don't think Phil's going to do it. No, I think he's out. He's just looking after his health by the looks of it at the moment. He looks really good.
Yeah, he definitely does. And he posted up this on Twitter as well. I mentioned this in another video, but he basically posted up, had to take it there for this chest workout, let's go. Then he put #8 weeks out. And that was exactly 18 weeks out of the Olympia. So I was like, did he do a little, is he like just trolling us? Did he intentionally do that? Or is like 8 weeks out of Tampa? Like he looks pretty good. I mean, in terms of like, he's put some of that size back on. It looks like to me, he's actually added some muscle the last couple of weeks, which would sort of line up with like a Mr. Olympia prep in terms of adding the size back on. But yeah, just from everything that's been said, I think that he won't compete because he's talked a lot about like the next chapter and stuff like that, and just putting up quotes saying stuff like that on his Instagram. And I'm like, I think just mentally he's probably moved on. What do you think, Aaron?
It's funny because like a week or two ago, they put up photos and he looked really small. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's definitely done, blah, blah, blah. But he might have been just really, really having a break. Like, obviously, there's no substance in his body, no training at all. Then the last week or two, like, he's starting to look good again. You know what I mean? Like, So I don't know. I don't think he really needs to compete again. I don't think he will, because if you weigh out the pros and cons, one more devastating loss gets really going to start. It's like when a UFC fighter gets knocked out a couple of times, and like Ronda Rousey, and keeps trying to make it back, and then it gets a little bit more devastating each time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know if he's already going to be a Hall of Famer, one of the best ever. I don't feel that it's worth it. And I just don't think, even though his abs might look a little bit there, I don't think it's fixable what he has. I don't think he can fix it. So I don't believe he will.
He's never going to have those clean abs back again that he had earlier in his career. I don't know why people think that that's a possibility. Now, he can make it look less bloated, obviously. Like, he couldn't control it on the Olympia stage for whatever reason once he posed more and more. But if he can control it, at least, even if it's not perfectly symmetrical and looks really nice, then, I mean, at least he can make an even better comeback than he did, I suppose, this year. And he just needs to add more size back on his back, because that was really the differential, I suppose, the difference factor between him and some of these other guys. His back shots were like knockout shots, and this past year they weren't. So, whereas, do you think he was doing it because he's trying to keep his midsection smaller?
The thing is, if anyone could do it, though, if anyone in the world could come back and win it, it's definitely him.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that
that's the problem. Maybe not at 40. Maybe not at 40. That's the only problem.
And it's been a lot of years he's been at the top as well.
It's a real on the fence one for me. It's like, really, but then you got Sean Roden on the other hand, who's just going barrel and what's the saying? Hammer and tong. Hammer and tong. Well, I say barrel. I don't know where barrel comes from. He's going hammer and tong, Sean, at the moment. Like he looks bigger than ever, and he's like 44, isn't he?
No, he's 46.
46. Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go, 46, and he look how hard he's going. Like, I couldn't say that. I reckon Sean could win an Olympia.
I'd love to see Sean on that Olympia stage, mate. I really would. I hope he's got the go. I mean, who knows if he's got the go here? Because how many weeks out from the Olympia is it now? 16?
17, I believe. Maybe 16. But yeah, I think it's 17 this weekend, I think.
If Sean starts getting leaner in the next 6 weeks, something's up.
Something's up.
Yeah, definitely.
I asked him the other day.
Yeah?
Did nothing?
And he just gave me a political answer.
He doesn't want to let anything out of the bag.
I was like, you're looking good, blah, blah. Like, how's training? Like, I was like, I want to get up to Flex's gym. Any word on you competing? And he's like, oh, bro, it'd be good to see you. That's all he said. He didn't answer my question,
Yeah.
So, yeah. That would be such an inside scoop. That info would be such a massive story. Like, they're not going to leak that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's looking bigger than I've seen him in the off season though, and strong as hell. So I don't know if that means anything, but
I've talked to people as well, like like Dave Mad Max, who's Jay Cutler's video guy for Jay Cutler TV and best friend. Also, I have talked to Sean very, very sparingly on Instagram, and he's appreciated like anything that we've spoken about and stuff in terms of him. Should, in my opinion, should be allowed to compete in 2021. I mean, at this point, whatever happened and whatever allegedly happened back in 2018. It's 2021 now. It's 3 years on, and this dude's still being kept out, and he hasn't been. He's not in jail. He's walking around the streets. He's training. He's doing everything he normally does. I mean, if he's that dangerous, then why would he be allowed to do any of this sort of stuff? You know what I mean? So
because I know you'll love it. Like that gym, I just went there on the first day it opened. Mate, trust me, as if you do a prep there coming into the Olympia, the atmosphere there was just insane.
Yeah,
I feel
no,
that.
yeah, it's getting better and better. Like everyone's moving there. Like Stanimal, he moved there, and like Sean's moved there. Like everyone, they're obviously Flex is smart, and I've been speaking to Flex about this gym for like 12 months, and like it's going to be like the Golds 2.0 eventually. You know what I mean? It probably already is. It's obviously already better than Golds because everyone's training there. So
Yeah.
can you imagine Olympia time? How good that fucking gym's going to be at Olympia time, like Olympia week.
And everything's around you. You know, it's like there as you've got all your stuff you need there to eat. Everything's there that you need. I love that place. So I've got so many holidays on at the moment. So if you do that Olympia next year, I'm coming over a couple of months before.
If I do it, if I can get over to America, I'm going over for 2 months. I'm doing the last 8 weeks there at least, and I'll just prep at Flex's gym, and just prep with them. You know, so.
Man, you better get some good content if you're doing that.
That's the thing. It'd be such a cool thing. Like I spoke to Flex about it. Like it'd be mad just for content wise and just something different. I've never done it. Like I've always prepped at home just to fly over there early, get ready early, to allow for any hiccups, and then just train in Vegas for the last 6 to 8 weeks. You know, it'd be such a mad thing to do. And then it's only a short flight. To wherever I go. It's only a little short flight, and I'll be like all acclimatized and all settled. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we think? Do we think Sean Roden, if he comes back, just say he's allowed to compete at the 2021 Mr. Olympia, Mick, where do you think he would place? Can he take out a Big Ramy? Because Big Ramy obviously has huge commitments, you know, this year. I mean, he doesn't have to travel for guest postings and stuff like that. And William Bonac, actually, I've got an interview going up with him. It should be the next one after this video. I've mentioned that a couple of times, but it should definitely be the next one. And he mentioned it might actually be easier for Big Ramy this year because he doesn't have to travel all around the world. He can stay in Egypt. But I sort of said as well that he's got so many commitments and, you know, big sponsorships, and he doesn't like to say no to anyone. So he will stand there for 2 hours and take photos with fans and stuff when he's just finished at the gym and stuff. Do you think that Sean Roden can beat a Big Ramy, obviously under these circumstances?
Mate, I think he can. It just depends on how his body's been affected over the last 3 years of not being able to compete. Because when you're dieting down, then you're off season, dieting down, off season, you keep getting that different look. It's a hard one to say, mate. It really is, because none of us have seen him sort of strip down posing at all, so we don't know any improvements he's made or if he's regressed in any way, which it doesn't look like he has in clothes. But man, I don't know. I just think he deserves that chance to be back up there, and I think that Dan and Jake would really need to consider that, or hopefully have considered that in the last couple of months.
Yeah, no doubt. And I don't even know if it's necessarily up to Dan and Jake as well. This could be, and probably more likely is, the IFBB's decision at this point, I would say, because we did see that poster come out a few years ago with the Big Ramy and Sean Roden on it. And then probably about 12 hours afterwards or so, that photo was actually taken down off the Arnold Classic page, and it featured Sean Roden on the poster. So I assume that Sean probably thought he's going to be able to compete in the Arnold Classic because he got the go ahead from them, but maybe the IFBB said, no, I'm not too sure exactly. I haven't even spoken to Sean Roden about that, and I don't think it's really any of my business. So I didn't feel the right to actually even ask Sean Roden, but I'd say, you know, obviously Jake would own the Olympia. I'm sure he'd want to have Sean Roden in there. So yeah, I think he should be allowed to compete, in my opinion. Like, not many people are even sort of really talking about it that much. I know in RX Muscle, they've talked about it and sort of said he should be allowed to compete at this point, and it's gone too far. But who knows what the powers that be will actually say. But yeah, Mick, you think he should be in?
Well, I just answered that as.
Yeah, sorry, as.
Oh man, yeah, 100%. I feel it's heartbreaking to see, to be honest. Like, as you know, Sean's like, to me, seems such like one of the nicest guys, that one of the nicest pros that you'll meet, you know, ever out of any pro, and just so frustrating. Like, it's just gone to it's so frustrating on so many levels, because in any other planet, any other country in the world, it's like innocent till proven guilty. For some reason, this is guilty until proven innocent. And then it's not like you're like, okay, let's do it that way and we'll just sort this out in 6 months. Then there's no answer either. So he doesn't even have it. It's a lose-lose. Like, he doesn't even have a chance to even get the final say because, well, it's been 3 years now and they still haven't closed the case. So it's just such a frustrating thing. I reckon it should be like the rest of the world, innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Now I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to talk about Derek Lunsford, who posted up this photo the other day. And I've been speculating that he's going to move to the Open, but we haven't seen him obviously prepping, or he hasn't mentioned anything about it. There's no hashtag saying he's doing any other contest. He's still qualified for the 212 Olympia for 2021. But he did say, and I've heard, he spoke to Jose Raymond and said, but he's always worried about staying under the 212 all year. And he's sort of holding himself back a little bit. So I don't know if what he's doing right now, but he looks like he's added actually a lot of muscle and he's actually just not worrying about weight reportedly. And he's working with Honey Rambod. But Mick, what do you think? I'll go to you first. Do you think Derek Lunsford should move to the Open? Do you think he will move to the Open? And how do you think he would do in the Open if he does it?
I think him and Hardy have made actually a really good team. I've watched a few of their videos they put up with their training sessions. And Derek, he looks really good at it. I don't see how he could get down to 212 with where he's at now. Like, he's added some quality muscle. His legs have come up a lot as well. I don't know if you got to see that leg session he did with Harney, but
it's a huge amount, man. Like, we can see the video here. His legs at the Olympia were down a lot. You can see him there. The adductors are touching. They look huge. Like, his legs look really big. You can see there, obviously, the hamstrings hanging and everything. Compared to past contests. And shortly I'll bring up some photos from the Olympia, and it's night and day, man. It really is. Aaron, what's your thoughts? Do you think Derek Lunsford should move to the Open or stay in 212s?
I reckon he just loses fullness in his legs, the fur. When you go flat, like everyone, when they go flat, they tend to lose a certain body part first. Yeah. I think with Derek, when he goes flat, his legs just sort of flatten out. And I reckon he struggles. It's his approach, man, because when he weighed in at the Olympia that I was at, he wasn't on the limit. He was like a couple kgs underneath it. But like, he's got a bit of a fickle body where when he's a little bit flat, the legs look very slender. Then off season, they're like some of the most amazing quads that you will see in the division. And then when he gets to the stage again, they're like deflated again. It's a funny thing with him. I can't put my finger on it. I think it's the approach, but I truly believe his best physique will be in the Open class, because I reckon they nailed it. He nailed it himself when he said that he holds back too much. That imagine you can't hold back as an athlete. Yeah, that's the same thing with my shoulder. You can't have any burden. It's like having a handicap. Like if he's holding back, there's no doubt his best physique ever is when he just lets the shackles off, gets as big as he can get. They get as full as he can get, and then he just gets on stage. Which unfortunately for him. I'm not saying it's unfortunate, but I think he'll be an open guy and to be his most impressive physique,
Yeah. And you can see the legs there. They're definitely down on what we just saw in those photos as well. Like the adductors are barely touching. Like, it just looks like a different sort of leg to me. And you can see it more through some of the other shots as well when he's got his legs like further apart. Can you see the actual thing that pops up now on the screen, or can you just see the original?
The thing with him, it's not that his legs are that small. It's because his back is so big and it exacerbates the issue. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's when you have such a dominant body part, because bodybuilding is all smoke and mirrors. If he wasn't so big in his upper body, like his frame is just huge. It makes his legs look worse. He has to have monster legs to make himself look just complete and like symmetrical.
Yeah, it's funny how that sort of works, doesn't it?
Sean Clouder, bro. Sean Clouder is the flip side of that. He's a very small man, tiny clavicle width, small frame, and Sean Clouder's legs pop like crazy and look super freaky, but he's not very wide up top. He's just got that poppy, freaky sort of little bit of like flex wheeler muscle. But that's why his legs look so crazy, because the upper body is not crazy wide.
Yeah.
I guarantee if you measured the legs of Sean Clouder and you measured the legs of Derek, Derek's legs would be bigger.
Yeah, probably, man. Like Sean Clarita was just, when I first saw him, I thought Kamalo Gagne's going to win it at the Olympia. We were actually chatting, I think, Aaron, when the 212 Olympia pre-judging was on. And I was like, yeah, Sean's crazy. He's always crazy. He's always slowly moving up. But I still never thought until after pre-judging that he's actually going to potentially win. Like I was like, yeah, really shocked. But let's move on. Let's discuss Ian Valier. Now, he actually just told me recently that he wants to compete at the Arnold Classic. I assume he'll get an invite. So that's another name to add to that Arnold Classic list. I believe we might see a few other really good guys in there as well, including obviously Sergio Oliva Jr., who came out and mentioned that he's joined the Arnold Classic. We may see a William Bonac in there. We could see a Steve Kuklo. How do you think Ian Valier matches up, Aaron? Because you can see him here, he looks huge.
He's getting bigger and bigger. Like, yeah, he just seems to be this. He reminds me of James Hollingshead a little bit, not in the way they look, but like they just keep working and working and working. And they just, maybe I'm being biased because they got the same coach, but they just seem to be getting better and better and better. You know, like Ian's, like that photo there, he just looks massive, you know?
Yeah.
And he's
I actually saw this accidentally on his training partner, Mark Berger's Instagram page. So shout out to him. But yeah, he looks huge. And you can see in his like, I'll look up his like his actual profile, but he's just looking like enormous, even just doing deadlifts in like tops and stuff. Like he just looks huge. You can see here a little bit of forearm. Just overall made some good improvements to his back by the looks of it. Looks like that's coming up to sort of match the rest of his physique. And obviously, you know, his legs are looking really good based off, I think this is a video here. You can see, so that was, I think, about a week ago. So yeah, pretty damn impressive. And I think that he can do really well. What do you think, Mick?
I think he's going to have another great season this year. Obviously, him and Pat have nailed it as far as the combo with the training and the diet goes. But I've been watching a lot of his videos that he's put up with Chris Bumstead when they train together, and he's put on so much size. I agree with what Aaron said with what, like James, they've both just improved and improved and improved. I see Ian winning the show he's going to be doing soon, and I see him placing really high at Olympia.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He just looks like an absolute monster at this point. Now, I want to discuss another guy as well, Nathan De Asher. Now, he just got an invite to the 2021 UK Arnold Classic. We've seen Jamie Johal invite as well, Kubis Yellen. James Hollingshead, I believe, will not be doing that because he'll be in the US probably when that contest takes place, or he'll be going very, very soon after. What do you think about this? Because I think it's $35,000 for first place there. Nathan's been obviously kept off the stage for a fair while. When I spoke to him prior to coming out to Australia, which obviously never happened because the Arnold Classic Australia was cancelled, he was saying he was a considerable amount in terms of weight up based on what he'd been in the past. So I think he's pretty confident in terms of his physique and what he's doing and everything. How do you think he'll go, Mick? Obviously, he's probably going to be the favourite at Arnold Classic UK unless some other Europeans get into that show.
Easily the favourite. I mean, his shirt sums it up. They've got Nathan a unit, dude. He is so big. Like his arms, his delts, he's got some size, and he's as strong as hell. So I think, and he trains, mate, if you watch him train, I think his training is 100% every single session, day in, day out. So he's dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron, your thoughts?
Yeah, Nathan's always dangerous. I think any show that Nathan does, I'm a fan of him personally, and his physique as well. Just he's got that pop round, really bubbly muscle. You know, he's got a slim waistline, and he seems to be just getting. Lately, I've been seeing that he's getting bigger and bigger. And even though I guess it helps because he owns his own gym, because UK have been pulverized with the COVID issues, but I guess lucky he's got his own gym because he just seems to still be getting better and better and better despite all that shit going on. So
yeah, I felt so bad for him. And like, I interviewed him after that whole thing happened with the. But like he was shackled and they like literally just got onto him and just kicking him and everything, man. Like I spoke to him after that and it's just like, it was brutal. So
he looks massive there. He looks massive in that photo there. Like,
yeah.
You don't remember like in an off season, like when you're not lean, it doesn't really pop much. And that looks so round and bubbly and he looks crazy.
Yeah, because I know when you put up off-season photos, Aaron, compared to your pre-contest ones, I'm always like, oh yeah, you're huge, but you can't see everything that's going on. But as soon as you start to get in shape and when you are in obviously great shape, your physique like really comes alive. And I think it's the same with a lot of these guys as well. But yeah, Nathan is definitely, looks like he's probably put on some size and without actually being in Oxygen Gym. So apparently he's going to be going out there soon and preparing for the contest. So can't wait to see what he does. And I believe he's competing, I think it's in about 8 weeks time, and he's doing that Spain Europa show. So looking forward to seeing how Nathan D'Asha does. But we'll move on to another UK pro bodybuilder, and we'll discuss Samson Dowder, who's working with John Meadows, and he looks like he's put on a fair bit of size. This is actually, he said, he official end to this off season. So he's looking like he's added a good amount of size to his physique. I know he's around 310, probably more actually, he got up to, I'm sure, pounds in his off season, and probably in slightly better shape than past years as well. Mick, do you think that Samson can qualify for the Olympia, if not this year in 2021? Because there are a lot of guys still to qualify, but maybe in 2022. Let me know what you think.
Oh, I think he's definitely a chance in 2022. This year's going to be a tough one as far as qualifying goes. But he's improved a lot. Like, he's definitely a lot thicker.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely thick. And that back was sort of his weak point, and it seems to come up a lot. Aaron, what do you think about Samson and his chances in 2021? Because he's doing that Arnold Classic UK as well, which is, I think, is a big opportunity for him, because he's going to be up against guys like, I can't wait to see the battle between him and Jamie Johal, who's 6'5" and looking his best ever right now as well. I don't know who else is doing it. Apparently there's 12 guys doing it, and I think 4 of the guys have got their invites so far. So how do you think Samson will do going forward, Aaron?
So there's 12 UK pros doing the Arnold, and they're all UK pro or American pros?
I don't know if they're all UK. I just saw they posted up and said, we've given out 3 out of the 12 invites. And they were to all UK bodybuilders at the time, and then Nathan got his. So there's been 4 UK pro bodybuilders that have the invite so far, and I don't believe the rest have been released.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Samson, same thing. I think, believe his back was his biggest priority. Like, it seems to definitely have gotten better. With the back though, like, I think it's when it's like a high priority like that, won't happen in one off season. I think it could possibly take until next year, but by the time he gets into Olympia, because it's just that some of these lineups coming in the next few shows now are going to be so heavily stacked because everyone's sort of sat out. Some of these shows, there's going to be shows where everyone shows up at once, and I think this year's going to suck a little bit like last year, where we're going to miss some of these Olympias are still going to be missing some head names because of all this crap that's been happening. There's going to be people that miss out that any other year probably wouldn't miss out. So, yeah. But I like his posing. He puts a lot of emphasis into posing, and he has a nice, pleasing physique like Nathan does. But I think, like, up against someone like Nathan, I think Nathan's still going to have the edge on him.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree with that as well. But I wanted to discuss as well, before we wrap this thing up, I wanted to discuss who may and may not qualify for the 2021 Mr. Olympia, because there are a ton of names that are yet to qualify. So I'll read them out quickly to you. So Sergio Oliva Jr., I don't believe he will be qualifying. He is concentrating on the Arnold Classic at this point due to some family issues and stuff. So I don't think he'll be qualifying for that 2021 Mr. Olympia unless he jumps in a show prior. He said he still might, so who knows. Hunter Labrada, obviously he's doing the Chicago Pro. You got Cedric McMillan, he's jumping in one of the August shows, or both of them possibly. John De La Rosa, you got Akeem Williams, who hasn't qualified. He may be doing Puerto Rico, as far as I know, but he hasn't made a decision yet, or he might have made a decision and not announced it. You got Rolly Winkler, you got Steve Kuklo, you got Nathan D'Asha, obviously you got Charles Griffin, who's looking huge right now. You got Max Charles, I believe he hasn't qualified. You got Samson Dowder, you got Quentin Arai, you got Michael Lockett, you got Juan Morel, who I don't know if he's competing or not, but there are a ton of names still yet to qualify. We've got, I think, 3, maybe 4 US shows to go. I think it might be 3, and then a couple of European shows. So we're probably going to get, basically based off points and winning shows, we're going to have probably another 7 or so bodybuilders qualify. And there might even be a guy that does, one of these shows one weekend, qualifies, and then backs it up the next weekend and wins the other show and takes away another qualifying spot, which if I was one of these top pros, I'd definitely consider doing, because otherwise you're saying no to 10K US potentially. And also you're putting another guy into the Olympia that might be close to you. So what do you think, Mick, out of that list, who do you think is there anyone that's a guaranteed qualifier? And then I didn't even mention as well, Ian Valier as well. So
that's
tons of names.
I was thinking of guys who will qualify, and I'd put my money on Hunter.
Yep.
Ian, D'Asha. I think Steve, I favour Steve Kuklo going into because he's doing the Texas show.
Yep.
I don't know. I favour him going into that. He's had a good off season, and he's looking really, really fresh. So I'm putting him in there as well. I don't think Cedric will.
I don't think he will.
That'd be the ones. And that's tough with those names. There's a lot of good names being left out there.
Yeah, because you just picked 5 guys then. there's already some guys that have a decent amount of points as well. And some of these guys have no points whatsoever, but they can collect enough if they do enough of these shows. But yeah, you just mentioned obviously Nathan D'Asher, Steve Kuklo, Roller Winkler, Keem Williams, and Hunter Labrada, leaving out a few guys, obviously like Samson Dowda, Charles Griffin, John De La Rosa, who's, you know, multiple-time Mr. Olympia competitor, Cedric McMillan, who's won an Arnold Classic. But honestly, I sort of agree with what you said. Aaron, what do you think, and who do you think will qualify for Mr. Olympia in 2021 who hasn't yet?
I agree with Gally, but with everyone that he said, exactly the same. But I reckon Sergio will find a way to get in. Like, I just can't imagine Sergio, knowing him personally, that he won't want to miss 2 Olympias in a row. Like, it frustrated him so much as it did me missing the last one. I think he'll just make it. He'll just make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, he's missing this Chicago Pro, but he's still possibly thinking about doing it whatever next show he can get in on.
Yep.
He still do Tampa and Texas, couldn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll make it happen. I think Sergio, he won't want to miss 2 years. The shows are a big deal for Sergio. You know, for him, his business, like the things that he's doing. He's got a couple of business things in the pipeline that he's doing, and it's everything to him to compete. So, and the Olympia is obviously everything to him, especially as a pro bodybuilder and as who he is. I don't believe he'll do everything in his power to make sure he makes that Olympia again. So I think I have to throw Sergio in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just share my screen now.
That's what as I said before, which about 10 minutes ago, so many good names are just going to miss this Olympia. Like,
oh yeah.
It's frustrating. Like, it's just like a second year of COVID's. I'm not going to say COVID's ruined it. Like this year is still going to be better than last year, but it's gonna affect us for 2 whole years of bodybuilding. It's frustrating. We're not seeing fully stacked lineups, possibly till 2022. But it's just, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. Hey, Az, I think you're getting text or something, or maybe Mick. I'm not sure.
No, it'd be Az. Let's face it. Come on.
Because as like you send the text messages, like especially when Richmond are playing, and it's like
that game actually just started too.
Yeah, we've got to actually get going and actually watch that. But it's actually funny, man, because as when I get like multiple texts, if my phone's actually on loud, I get the thing, is that Aaron? Like, is that Aaron texting you? I'm like, yeah, typically it is. But
yeah, my Telegram.
That's who's qualified for the 2021 Mr. Olympia, and we'll wrap this thing up. So qualified so far is James Hollingshead, Regan Grimes, Mumdu Elzabaye, which is Big Ramy, Brandon Curry, Phil Heath, Huddy Chupin, William Bonac, Justin Rodriguez, Nick Walker, and Patrick Moore. And on points, we have Muhammad El Aman. Now, I don't know why on all the competitor lists lately, plus also now here it says Mohammed, but on his Instagram it says Muhammad. So I think they're just like misspelling it. And then you got Hassan Mustafa on 10 points, Dorian Hayward on 8, Vlad, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, from Ukraine on 6, Leo on 6, Mohammed Shaban on 4, Mark Hector on 3, Blessing on 3, Lionel Baiki on 3, and then you got a few other guys down there as well. So we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys qualified. You see obviously Sean Roden's not on that list, but he has a lifetime qualification. Dexter Jackson does too, but I doubt he'll be competing. So it seems like we're probably going to get about 16 guys on that Olympia stage. And that's granted, obviously nothing goes wrong with COVID as well. So it's probably going to be a pretty similar amount of guys compared, like last year basically as well. So hoping the quality's actually up. And now the one thing I find interesting is that it doesn't say Flex Lewis on here, I don't think, does it? And I heard he's maybe getting a special invite, or, is invited permanently. But as you obviously speak to Flex, do you have any inside word there?
I don't know if I'm supposed to leak that sort of information.
No, I don't think you are. I just asked, hoping you'd say, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah. I'll just give you, Flex is going through shoulder issues just like me.
Yeah.
And I will let him announce that on his own, but like, he's still got he's not even back into full training at the moment either.
Yeah, he's looking huge though. He's looking like he's packed.
Yeah, but and I'm telling you, he's not even trying, to be honest.
Wow,
at all.
That's crazy.
Because his shoulder, he's had to do stem cells in his shoulder, and they had to he had to go through like detoxes and everything, and like get all that sorted. Like, he had similar shoulder problems to me, and the shoulder's only just starting to come good now. So it's been a bit of a long process for him, and he's had a good break and all refreshed, and he's actually recovering pretty well. So, but it's just taking longer. I think it's taking longer than people anticipated with his shoulder. So, yeah. I'll leave it at that. I'll let him make those announcements, but
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
For sure. Well,
I
guys,
feel
think
like I don't want to get a whole Sergio situation going on where I leak
No.
information that I'm not supposed to.
Nah,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
Well, hopefully we get to see him, man. I'd love to see him on that Olympia stage this year, taking on all the big guys as well. But if we don't, I'm sure we'll see him in 2022 regardless. But I think, he's definitely going to probably try to do everything he can to get on that Olympia stage this year, because I think it'd be awesome to see. But hopefully we see, man, I would love to see like Flex Lewis, Sean Road, and Rolly Winkler gets back in there. We get Steve Kuklo back on that Olympia stage, and that Olympia top 10 starts to look like ridiculously good. So,
Bro, put it this way: if it was me, I've got my Flex shirt on today actually from Flex.
Oh, nice.
If I was me personally, bro, knowing that the pain that he had in his shoulder is so similar to mine, I would be spending the next 12 months getting back to my all-time best and getting bigger than ever, and I would be focusing on 2022. I wouldn't be rushing into a show when it's such a massive thing for him to step up to the open class. Like, he's really wants to make an impact, like.
Yeah.
I speak to him and we talk about him he wants to become the champ, like Conor McGregor, the champ.
Yeah.
Like it's a big deal, it'll solidify him as just one of the GOATs. Like, to be honest, like, it's never done before. So if you put yourself in his shoes, he's still not old yet. He still looks mad. If it was me, I would spend the next 12 months living and breathing like a monk, like bodybuilding. And before you know it, it's 2022. Prep starts for Olympia, I would be doing that then. I would be rushing into a show just after coming off a shoulder injury. No way if I was him.
Because he's going to have so much expectation on his shoulders as well.
Man, the pressure on his shoulders will be astronomical. And Flex is not going there to get top first. People say, oh yeah, he might get first call out. Flex is not going there for first call out. That's not what he's got in his head. So he's got to make an impact. So if I was him, I'd be taking the year to get everything. And he just opened a gym, bro, as well. People forgetting he's night and day putting all this effort and all this shit going into his gym. He's been, like me, he's been focused on business a lot the last 6 months. I don't think it's a smart time to be doing. And the gym's going to flourish in September anyway. This gym's going to be killing it already because of this Olympia's around the corner. And then I'd be focusing on the following year because everything's going to be set. Gym's going to be already going perfect. Be going a year. It's already, the gym's already been through one Olympia. His body's perfect. Like, I think 2022 is the Flex's year.
Yeah, man, I think so too. That would be awesome. Imagine us all being over there 2022 in Flex's gym, around all the Olympia competitors, getting a heap of content. You obviously prepping Aaron as well, being qualified for it. It would just be, man, that would just be the dream. Hopefully 2022 would happen.
Oh, yeah. I can't stop that beeping, bro. I don't know how to fucking stop that beeping, bro. It's doing my head in. I'm like, fuck, I can't stop this beeping. But, yeah.
Are you on what are you on?
Oh, it's my fucking Telegram, man. It just doesn't stop beeping. It's the crypto shit, and I just can't stop it. I don't know. I put my phone on silent. It still beeps.
Yeah, you need to put it on. You need to put it on, I think, Do Not Disturb.
It's on Do Not Disturb.
Oh, wow. Just overrides it.
Yeah, wow. It's like but what you said there, that's like makes me happy. Like I'm hoping all everything comes together, and like 2022, like I can make my comeback to the Olympia then, because I think that's what will realistically be. And I'm hoping Flex does it the same year, because obviously I speak to him all the time, and I've never been backstage at the Olympia with Flex. Like I got into the Olympia the year that he retired, bro. That was so frustrating for me. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I wish I got to do it with him, but I didn't. So it'd be imagine if Sean Roden comes back and does the Olympia. Flex is doing that Olympia. Then I can do that same one, and we all fly over there. It'll be the sickest thing.
It would be amazing, man.
There's a high chance that could happen. So let's just pray that it happens.
It's happening. It's happening. Let's just call it now.
Yeah, I'm taking 2 months holidays.
Yeah, I would literally go over there for months if that was the case. You know, I'd love that would be the best. So let's just pray for that.
Yeah, we can record a weekly bodybuilding breakdown from Flex's gym live.
Yeah.
Get all the guys coming.
And the best thing is, like, Flex and Sean both train there. Like, it'd be the best shit ever.
It'd be amazing, man. It'd be absolutely amazing. And Flex said as well, he sent me a message, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but super friendly, man. He said, you fuckers just need to name a date and get over here or something like that. And I was just like, yep, done.
Flex said.
Yeah. So he said that about us. So I was like, that's cool.
And maybe, hopefully, by then, you never know, Josh might be able to make a comeback. Like, I haven't spoken to Josh lately. I've been meaning to text him and see how he is. You know.
I just messaged him yesterday, and I said I'm going to give him a call during the week this week. So I'll give him a call.
It'd be good to see him get back there as well. So, because he can make an Olympia any time he wants when he's back to his best. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. And Mick, I reckon we should get Josh on the show as well.
Yeah, absolutely. See where it's going.
Let's do it. And let's let Aaron go with his Telegram going absolutely nuts. But boys, I think it was an awesome episode. Let's definitely do this again. And we're going to have these shows weekly, whether Aaron's on or not. But hopefully, man, because I really enjoyed having you on, Az. And I think we all work well as a sort of like a bit of a dynamic sort of thing. So let's do this again. So for Michael Galley, Aaron Politis, Aaron as well, plug anything you want to plug too before we wrap it up.
Oh yeah. Just a shout out to my sponsors that have obviously always stick by me no matter if I'm doing a show or not. You know, like Food for Fitness feeds me the best meals I could ever hope for. They've no matter if I'm competing or not, they're always supporting me. And my main supplement and clothing sponsor, Massive Joe's, you can't see on this hat. Massive shout out to them for the support, and that's it.
Sweet. Mick, do you want to shout out anyone?
I got nothing to shout out anymore these days, mate.
I'm done. Sweet. All right, let's wrap it up, boys. So for Xavier Wills, Michael Galley, and Aaron Politis, we are out.